The Chuck Berry thing had nothing to do with the phone call. Thank you, Wyoming, for inviting me. I'm absolutely humbled and honored and privileged to be here. I want to make sure you understand the American leadership, the warrior, the real statesman that is on this stage, General Paul Bellali. If America was led by a great man like the General, there would be no Fast and Furious. And the men at Fort Hood wouldn't have died in vain, as our government lied and said it was workplace violence when a soldier of Allah yelled Allah Akbar and gunned down unarmed and helpless heroes of our military. I know you would not let that happen. So I could go into an unlimited, I could keep you here for 100 days reiterating and listing the crimes our government is guilty of right now. But I won't. I will focus on that the good still outweighs the bad and the ugly. Amen. I just performed my 6,500th concert this year. Hence the link. But that wasn't just 6,500 concerts. It was 6,500 meetings with working hard, playing hard Americans. I meet with American families every day on tour. Ranchers, and cops, and teachers, and hardware store operators, hunters, fishermen, trappers, conservationists, conservation leaders. And back in the 1960s, those meetings were about great hunting seasons and killer rock and roll and working hard to earn your way, saving for a rainy day, living within your means so you can get a new rifle come hunting season. You can take your kids in the woods. And that morphed into the tragedy that we're now facing today. And I will frame it as powerfully as I can, that I have saluted too many flag-draped coffins and held too many crying widows and sons and daughters to allow this crime to continue any further, because freedom is not free, and your very existence is provided by the blood and guts of warriors of the United States military. They died for the Constitution. They gave up their legs and their arms and their eyes and their skin because they took an oath to the Constitution like President Obama did, but their buddies came home in bags because the president violates his oath on an hourly basis. I smell antelope. And the most important thing we can take away is that you sponged and filed the information shared by boots on the ground, by a real warrior who's not afraid to go into places that need to be examined. Remember every word from the General. We have a small gathering. I know this is a small town. I know it's a minimally populated state. So was Colorado before it turned into a suburb of San Francisco. Because big, tough, rugged individual ranchers in Colorado bent over and let bureaucrats force them to abandon logic, science, goodwill, and decency. And now Colorado lives to infringe on their Second Amendment rights. It's absolutely Planet of the Apes flew over the cuckoo's nest. So here's the point. If you are here because you think that you're standing up for the right thing, and I believe you are, then certainly each of you must know 100 people that you can fix. Certainly each of you must know 100 people at work, church, and school, in deer camps, around the country, family, friends, associates. If I hear another hunter tell me that, man, I wish I could get my wife to support hunting. It's your wife! Fix her or replace her. If you can't fix your wife, now that's just anecdotal because most of the wives I know are already killers. But if you can't fix your immediate family, how do you expect to win at the voting booth? It isn't. I'm going to sit down because I just had both my knees replaced. In fact, people ask me, so how's it going, Ted? And I go, oh, my life's perfect. Except for my knees in the government, my life is perfect. I replaced my knees. I'm working on the government. I think I blew up the PA system. Got a hot mic? I blew it up! That's what I do! Can you still hear me all right? Yeah. So it isn't the enemy that's winning. It isn't the liberal, mindless, soulless freedom haters that are winning. It's not the Nancy, you don't need to read it, you need to sign it. This is insanity. Our Attorney General, the top law enforcement agent in America, is a racist, gun-running felon. Yep. Can you all hear me all right? Yep. All right. Thank you. We have a man who has an electronic degree. So my point is, it's not that the idiots are winning. It's that the good guys ain't fighting. The curse in this country isn't Obama. It's those of us that knew he was a community organizer scammer, that he doesn't have the credentials to drive my tour bus, that he's a bad man. He represents communism. He represents socialism. His entire history is ripe with anti-American, anti-freedom, anti-constitution, anti-independence, anti-entrepreneurial, and we still elected him. He's not the enemy, the non-voters are, and your friends who were too busy to vote are the enemy. So in my 6,500 meetings, I began scolding my friends back in the 60s. You're not a member of the NRA? Get out of here. You're not invited. Leave the room. You want to have great joy in your life and cause Nancy Pelosi to exhibit more G-forces on her face? Make sure everybody you know is an NRA member. It brings them much anguish. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're here and you're not a member of the National Rifle Association, the most simple statement of freedom available to an American, if you're not a member of the NRA, I got to tell you, Nancy Pelosi likes you. And I know Gun Owners of America, and I know all the Second Amendment organizations. I'm a member or board of director on all of them. If you're not an NRA member, you're not a freedom fighter. That's job one. And that means talking about it at camp. That means talking about it at work. That's the indicator of whether you're on the side of people that would never ask our country to do anything for us, but we demand of ourselves everything we possibly can for our country. And on the other line, drawn in the sand, are people who refuse to do anything for their country, but demand that we do everything for them. It's that cut and dry. They are a different species. Watch him talk. Watch Harry Reid. What is that? You don't need to read it, you need to sign it. She should have been arrested on the floor. What is that? Political middle finger to we the people? That's what that is. My brain doesn't know how to process this information. The indecency, the fraud, the deceit, the corruption, the lies. I stand on the front lines, and I've been doing so forever. I stood up for the Second Amendment against hippies that thought deer were cartoon characters. And I didn't apologize, and I didn't back down. I celebrated and promoted I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman, and I'm a trapper. And I believe that I have the right to keep and bear. So if you're not pissing off the assholes, you're an asshole. And I'm doing one hell of a job in that department. So at one of my concerts recently, and it's all over the headlines, the left has just wallpapered and carpet bombed lie after lie about me because they know they're incapable of debating me, because I will go Pierce Morgan on them. And I will liberate them statistics, no matter what subject they dare to debate me on. So they have to revert to the Saul Alinsky, Joseph Goebbels lie campaign. They bus in protesters to my concerts. They bus them in. The protesters are so stoned and delirious, they still wear their American communist badges. They're not local protesting my concert. They're racist, pedophile, draft dodger. American communist badges. Rastafarian ratness. Stink. I called them unclean vermin. I was accurate. The left media took my statement accurately and honestly identifying deceiving protesters paid for by the Southern Poverty Law Center, MoveOn.org, Huffington Post. When I'm asleep, I piss them off. And they bust them in to protest my concerts with placards that somebody made for them. And I identified them as unclean vermin. I'm pretty good with the English language and my eyes don't lie. The media took that statement and said I said that about my Native American blood brothers, who I have had a wonderful brotherhood relationship for over 45 years. There's not a tribe in this country that hasn't invited me to their reservation to teach their children about being clean and sober, to aim small, miss small, the history of hands-on conservation, to respect the mighty beasts that bring us food, clothing, shelter, tools, medicine, and our spirit. I am the best friend to the Native Americans, and the media knew that there were enough dumb people to buy a headline if it was repeated often enough, Saul Alinsky, Joseph Goebbels propaganda ministry. It doesn't bother me on a personal level. The more idiots hate me, the better my guitar playing gets. But on a human level, on an American level, that abject dishonesty and black-hearted hatred is the same species as us and horrifically fellow Americans. That hurts me deeply. They're not interfering with my music, it's untouchable. They're not going to interfere with my hunting season, in fact I'll kill more stuff just for them. But on a human and American level, I'm a creative guy. I wrote Wango Tango. There's no limit to my imagination, but I am helpless to imagine what makes them tick. What allows them to tick is that not enough of us. I've been doing it nonstop, every tour, every night, every hunting camp, every Thanksgiving dinner. Everywhere I go, I try not to bring too much anguish into the culture war in family fun times, but I make sure everybody at my table is a member of the NRA. I make sure everybody at my table is in communication with their senators and their congressmen and their mayors and their governors and the White House. And the reason America is a hellhole on the fast track to spiritual suicide is because those of us that know better, those of us that put our hearts and souls into being the best Americans we can, it is so foreign to us that we would have to support the right to keep and bear arms that many of us don't. It's a daily responsibility. And because we didn't, following World War II, instead of maintaining quality control and participation in the sacred experiment of self-government, and making sure that our congressman and our senator and our mayor and our governor and our reps followed the Constitution, followed the Bill of Rights, fulfilled their oath to we the people as elected employees, because we failed miserably, damage control is 1,000 times the effort. I'm up to 1,000 times the effort. I put forth 1,000 times the effort every day. I beseech you, take this bull by the horns. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Don't think that the self-evident truth is in the logic column anymore. It's not. We have to start all over again. I speak to children's organizations every week. I have a Ted Nugent camp for kids. I'm invited into all the different reservations to speak to these poor, forlorn, substance-abusing, paint-sniffing, obese children of the native peoples. And they don't know what the word sacred temple means. I was brought up that this is my sacred temple. You don't poison your sacred temple. The author of Wang Dang Sweet Poon Tang has to explain sustained yield wildlife management to Indians. What's next? It's funny, but it's insane. Because we that know have been moved. If you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings, man up. If you're afraid of being politically incorrect and ruffling feathers, I don't ruffle feathers, I shoot them and gut them and pluck them. It's a culture war. It's not a culture discussion. Not a culture picnic. It is a war for the very soul of the last best place that is designed not to let kings and tyrants and emperors tell us what to do, but rather we the people tell them what to do. And if they don't do it, you don't just vote them out. You might have to arrest them and try them and convict them and jail them. Eric Holder. And just to finalize the irrefutable conclusive evidence how bad it is, you have actually invited the Motor City Madman to explain this shit to you. And I know I'm speaking your language. I know nothing I've said surprises you except maybe the insane depth of the self-inflicted curse of apathy. We have bent over since World War II because we couldn't believe that good, the universally celebrated good of America, crushed the universally understood evil of Japs and Nazis. We couldn't believe that that government that represented us in good over evil could possibly turn on us. They've turned on us. Yeah. They've literally turned on us. Ranchers being arrested because of gerbils on their range, or some families arrested because the EPA claims they're building a barn on a wetland where for 200 years of satellite documentation, no moisture. In Michigan, I got a beaver flooding my driveway. I got a call to DNR to kill my beaver. I'm Ted Nugent. I'm the master of beavers. Beaver education, I need that. In New Jersey last week, my friends were telling me they were having a coyote problem. I said, what's that? Where I live, the coyotes have a Ted problem. You see how insane this is? And those were conservatives, those were NRA men. You need a scrotum? I can get you a scrotum. I can't process this information. It's bizarro world. Don't take Wyoming for granted. You got it too good here. You might be sleeping because it says WY as your residence. Coloradoans thought they were tough. The hippies owned the state. You got to be kidding me. I was born in Detroit, the epicenter of the most Herculean work ethic, productivity in the history of mankind. Then the liberal Democrats weaseled their way in and convinced those great productive workers that they're working too hard and producing too much quality. If you back down your effort and you back down quality control, I can get you overtime. And they bought it. I wish my sons and daughters were here right now. I got 9 wonderful kids, 11 grandkids. That's why I'm fighting. Because I lived the American dream based on my effort. I was compensated. Based on my sacrifices and my risk. I could buy a little farm and have my own sacred hunting grounds. And it's not available to them anymore. I'm going to fight to get it back. I beseech you. This is the Tea Party. We're throwing tea in the bay. But that's not the limit of what we can do. We can take that back this country if, and only if, each of you find 100 apathetic friends of yours. You need to find them. You don't need to talk about the weather and the drought. There's weather, there's droughts. You need to talk about, are you an NRA member? If you're not, shame on you. You might overlook that. I'm telling you, that's the clincher. When the left tries to make a move, they look and see how many NRA members are around. Because they know if they try some sneak attack, we'll kick their ass. So I leave you with this. General, I think you agree. It's up to this little group. A little group in Des Moines. A little group in Madison, Wisconsin. A little group in Englewood, Colorado the other night. A little group in South Dakota in a couple days. A little group in Oregon in a couple days. A little group in Ohio I'm going to go. I'm going to go to West Virginia. I'm going to go to South Carolina. I'm going to go to Florida. Then I'm going to Mississippi and I'm going back to Texas. Little group. I know you know 100 people. And I know you know 100 people that are not engaged. Men, warriors have died. They charged into the fire. So you can vote and participate in the only experiment in self-government in the history of Earth. How dare you not participate? You need to say that to your friend. I'm not voting this year. I don't like so. How dare you? There's a soldier in a box. How dare you not use the rights and the freedoms as provided at such complete sacrifice? So that's all I'm here to tell you. If you want to just rest on your laurels, and I'm from Wyoming, they can't touch me. You're wrong. You're wrong. And if you don't communicate it, and I'm not talking once a week, you have to do it every day. It's a pain in the ass, but you got to do it. The enemy's at the door. There's too many wolves, literally and figuratively. We need to reduce them dramatically. So, General, thanks for standing at my side. Robert, thanks for having the balls to invite me. And yes, indeed, absolutely. And everybody, thanks. I can tell that you're here for the right reason. I can tell that you believe. I can tell that you live logic, common sense, self-evident truth, pragmatism, rugged individualism. I know that you set your alarm clock so you can be the best that you can be and you can produce. You're producers. We need to make sure that the producers guide and steer policy, not the takers. Right now, the bloodsuckers are steering policy. So the General and I agreed, and I think it's most important because the media are so irresponsible. The media are so dishonest. And of course, those in the media, only the guilty need to feel guilty. If you're not an unclean varmint, don't feel guilty. If you're feeling guilty, have a nice day.